Making pickles. Yep. We're going to make some pickles. I'm going to narrate this because there's just a lot of background noise. So if you're, wondering why it is that I'm not talking in the video, it's because I'm recording this later as I'm watching what I did. But making pickles is pretty easy, and honestly, this entire operation took me about 17 minutes to execute. As long as you got the stuff, getting the pickles, ready to go into the brine, easy. Why would you even want to make your own pickles? Because they're delicious. You know exactly what went in them. You control all the ingredients, and it ends up being a lot cheaper, and it's, that doing true lacto fermentation is really good for gut bacteria. So let's start. All right. Now, you'll see here in this scene, I've got all the ingredients already lined up. Okay. So, first things first is you need to wash the cucumbers, man. Okay. Now, I'm using black pepper, clearly. Let's see, bay leaf. That is responsible for the tannins that give some crispiness. Don't mess with that. Caraway seeds was for something else. I don't know why I was looking at it. Allspice you do need. And this is more caraway seeds. This actually, and mustard seeds and garlic. And then there's going to be fresh dill involved. The caraway seeds goes for sauerkraut, which is a different video altogether. But let's just do this. So I got lots, and I bought most of this stuff at my local Asian mart. Super cheap. Those cucumbers are like $1.30 a pound. There's about 13 pounds of cucumbers because I have a 3-gallon crock. That's that white and blue striped container over there on the right hand side, which is, it's just stoneware. It's just it's just a great big pot, but it's specifically designed for doing fermentations. It could be anything. It could be making kimchi, sauerkraut, anything anything in the realm of lacto fermentation. You're gonna want a crock. It just makes life a lot easier. And honestly, dude, they're not all that expensive. I picked that one up, that 3-gallon one. I picked it up at amazingly enough, a roadside gas station. I guess probably about 20 miles north of Espanola, New Mexico, for $99. I mean, come on, and 3 gallons, it's huge. It'll hold 13 pounds of cucumbers. Okay, so when you're doing these cucumbers, you're going to want to make sure that you pull the stems off because they'll get all goopy, and there's just no reason to have them in there, because if you're not going to eat it like with the cucumber, then there's no real reason to have it when you're making pickles. So just yank them all off. And all I'm really doing here is just throwing this stuff in water, and I'm going to let it, as these things soak, every once in a while I'll push down on it and knock the dirt off. That's all that's really going on here. Oops. Okay, so now I've finished putting them all in. Now just kind of manhandle them a little bit. Don't, get too extravagant with the manhandling. You just really want to knock the dirt off, because honestly, there's not a whole lot of stuff on there. And if there is pesticides and herbicides, it's pretty much going to be soluble, so it'll wash off really, really quickly. And then just drain those little bastards. Now, notice the way that this thing is built. There's the lid, and then there's this raised lip that goes around. That'll be important like later. What I'm pulling out now are the weighting stones. These go on top. You'll see that here in a little bit. So clearly, to make this stuff, I like using garlic, and that goes in pretty much first. And we're gonna pack this stuff in layers, so it's not just all everything like on the bottom or all the spices and stuff on top. It kind of needs to be layered from the bottom all the way to the top. So this is a big old bunch of fresh dill. Again, got it for cheap. I mean, dirt cheap at the local Asian mart. When I was making pickles and like going to an actual regular, you know, American grocery store, God, it was so expensive. It was like, I think it was like after it was all said and done was like $70. This has costed me around 20. I mean, all said and done. So bay leaf, pepper, dill, garlic goes in. Again, that bay leaf is there to impart tannins to the entire thing. You can also use grape leaves, and I'm not talking about the prepared grape leaves with the rice in it. All right, that's that, which is very tasty, by the way. No, I'm talking about just regular grape leaves. Yeah, so allspice, and let's see, what else am I putting in there? Probably some mustard seed. Yeah, looks like I'm going to cut that bag open right now. And here we are with the mustard seed. Now it's time to pack in some of these cucumbers. So just drain all the water off, and then all the dirt and like whatever crap is going to go with it, and then we'll start packing them in here. So yeah, about like a layer of pickles, couple of layers of pickles is what you're looking for. I kind of do about like, I don't know, 1.5 layers, where it's not like completely packed in 2 layers. Just a whole bunch on bottom, and then a couple of them laying crossways on top, and then make some really good pockets for the spices to kind of nestle in there. So here we go with the same thing: the dill, mustard seed, bay leaves, allspice, garlic cloves, and just honestly, we just rinse and repeat. So after it's all packed in there, it should come up kind of to the top, but you're going to want to leave some space. You're going to need at least a little bit of compression space because the next thing that goes in are these. And if these don't go in, you might as well just throw the whole damn thing out. This is what's going to keep everything down below the brine, okay, which is essentially just salt water. We'll get to that here in a second. But if those are not in there, then stuff floats up to the surface. You don't want that. Anything that pops its head out above the surface of the brine is going to get well, you don't want to have nothing to do with it. I'll just say that. It probably won't kill you, but honestly, there's just no reason to have it. So you want everything stuffed down there, and then we'll put on the brine. So what I've got here is I cleaned up, rather put a pot on the stove and got 6 quarts of water to start with. That's usually what was a good rule of thumb for this 3-gallon one. Each quart, you're going to want to make a brine. So for each quart, you're going to want 1 to 3 tablespoons of salt. I'm using 3. There's my son's over there playing with something that he shouldn't be playing with. Damn it. It's amazing when you have kids. It's just like you turn around and it's like, stop trying to kill yourself. Stop it. I don't want to deal with that. Anyway, so each quart of water is between 1 and 3 tablespoons of salt. In this particular case, I'm having to use rock salt. So I'm using like a full 3 tablespoons of salt. If I was using kosher salt or like sea salt or something like that, I would use probably 2 tablespoons per quart of water. So you heat the water up, not to boiling. You just want to get the salt to, be hot enough in the water, or the water hot enough so that the salt dissolves. You want it fully dissolved, otherwise this shit don't work. So that's what I was pouring in there. And then this is just sort of a demonstration here. There's 1 tablespoon of salt for 1 quart of water, just so that you know what we're talking about here. And yes, that salt box is all jacked up, but this is iodized salt. And they say that you're not supposed to use it, but honestly, if you can't, they say that you're not supposed to use it because it leaves like residue, like in the bottom. Like, I don't know, it's bizarre. But since this is just 1 quart and like a couple of tablespoons, I'm going to go ahead and use 3 in this one. But it's not so much iodized salt that I'm really all that concerned about it. But anyway, yeah. So get that salt in there. Because what is this? Okay, so why brine? I guess that's a good question. The things that live in your gut, like lactobacillus, they thrive in, well, salty environments. And guess what? Your blood has pretty much, it's like the same salinity as seawater. Amazingly enough, that's all people are salty people. Let's just say that. Stuff that makes you sick doesn't like salt. Now, if you get a hold of, salmonella, well, that's a different thing. That's a different thing entirely. But generally speaking, in lactofermentation, and this goes for sauerkraut, pickles, what have you, you're looking for salt water to submerge all this stuff in, because the only thing that survives is the things that are already going to survive in your gut. And check it out, that shit does not kill you, right? It helps produce vitamins. It does all kinds of wonderful things. And without the gut bacteria, well, you would be dead. I'm just saying. That's why you use brine, because it protects everything underneath the water, right? It's like it lets them get colonized by lactobacillus, and everything else that gets in there just kind of gets dead. And it doesn't propagate, it doesn't have babies, and it doesn't do all the things that well, that'll make you sick. So as I move the camera around here, I don't know what happened there, but whatever. So now here's the last part. This is why this lid is designed this way. It's called a water seal. And what it does is an added layer of protection to make sure that the bad stuff doesn't get in and that the CO2 that's evolved from the lactofermentation process can escape. That's what that little gap that I was pointing at in the lid does. It lets gas bubbles get out. But the whole thing gets submerged with water, and that makes a nice tight seal. Now here's the problem. This stuff evaporates. Okay, so you've got to make sure that your seal is always good. So check it, once a day to make sure that there's enough water in there that is going to do all the protection necessary. Now, at room temperature, find a little space, find a space for this. And it depends on temperature. It depends on a whole bunch of other stuff, but in reality, it takes me about 2 weeks to have a fully fermented batch of pickles. So do that. Go to your Asian Mart to go get all your stuff. Get a crock, and you can start making your own pickles today.